Peace family. So I'm back with another one. Today what I want to do is I want to talk to my chosen ones about how demonic possessions are not anything like these movies. Movies in Hollywood was damn near created to perceive us, to kind of paint a different narrative than the original natural law or whatever the circumstance and situation may be. But you know, Hollywood has always over exaggerated things and put things in a perspective to where if you've never seen it before, they painted the picture and now these are the images that you will be using. So like, none of us seen zombies in real life, but if somebody says zombie, we automatically have a bunch of zombie movies, or your favorite zombie movie or your least favorite zombie movie that starts running through your space. Either way, the image was painted. We intook it through our eyesight, and now it made its way into our spirit world. So they had a lot of movies out with these demonic possessions. I haven't watched any recently, but I kind of just was processing like a lot of the beings out here who operate in that realm where they still like to go out to the clubs and bar scenes. Like, I was just doing some reflecting on my bar life. I haven't been out to none of those spaces in years on years. And I'll start from there because that's like the most easiest simplified examples to go with, which is when people are intoxicated, above, under, in the influence, you know, whichever words work better for you. Most beings in that space, because y'all know we aren't coming from a righteous place starting off, you know, so we're actually having to transition. We're actually born one way, got natural law, then we twist it another way, and then we gotta find our way back to our roots. So when we in these spaces like where people are doing like mass drinkings at, we got a lot of vineyards out here in Virginia, and then it's like a lot of what do you call them, like breweries. We got a lot of breweries out here. So the breweries is like a place where grown-ups can go drink, and it's like mingling spaces for the kids and children and all that stuff while the parents is drinking, which is, it's really weird because it's like college, you know. It's promoting people to drink and drive, and they got their little ones. But we got a lot of breweries out here. But back to the example, when people are drinking and they go past a certain limit, usually people call that, oh, I blacked out. When really, you scooted yourself to the side and another entity was taking charge of your vessel. What made me process these things, right? Because I had one blackout moment in my life, and it was like, matter of fact, my 19th birthday, my 18th or 19th birthday. And it's like, we went to the bar, we did the whole regular generic scene. By the time I got in there, I remember we went by the bar, we grabbed one drink, and they played like a Lil Wayne song. Everybody started dancing, getting hype. After that, it went black till we got back outside. So when I start processing these things that was happening, right, I realized, like, even with me having my blackout moment, I realized that my team still was looking out for me. But it had to have been another entity operating my vessel. Because going in and out of that stage, it was like a lot of things was like pulling me away from that other energy over there. I'm saying all of this to say, like, a lot of people can be possessed without alcohol, you know, without any substances, because everything starts from within, outwardly. So we don't really put as much emphasis on possessions even when we just in a day-to-day conversation and somebody got so angry that they blacked out. We got one flying, so I'm gonna let them pass through. So we don't even take into account, for the most part, about the beings who are walking their everyday life beside us as being possessed. No, a possession isn't something that is like you're being possessed your entire day. What happens is it's kind of like you having two steering wheels, like a driver's ed car or something. You know what I mean? Like, you're the main driver, but the assistant that's in there to make sure you pass your class, the driver instructor, they also have a steering wheel as well too. You know what I mean? So the same way they can bump you to the side on a regular day when you're just learning, it's the same thing that happens with these possessions. I've seen a lot of people do some weird things. I've seen a lot of people, like, no alcohol, just black out in a weird space and just start blabbering and blurting out a bunch of shit, and maybe some of it they meant, but usually I would say about 40% of it they didn't even mean. And I'll leave the other 60% out there because I have dealt with a lot of demons, so they do mean that shit that they be saying. But just understanding, like, once you start to realize, like, a lot of these people are possessed out here, and the ones that aren't an easy access for the demonic team, most of them just already gave up and they're already robots. They're in PC mode, or, you know, like AFK, so my mini would say. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of them are already stuck in, I don't want to be a zombie, I'm just going to follow all the rules, I'm going to do what I'm told to do, and that's it. I don't want to think for myself. I don't want to do any of these other things that could benefit me and the ones around me. I just want to do what I am told to do and stay within those boundaries. Them people can get possessed too, but understanding, like, that's why the movies were so huge as far as turning your perspective into looking at possessions in that manner. Because if you've been fighting this war, you didn't have people that you didn't engage with, and like the conversation just shifted, and then you just felt the friction in the air, you know. And we always say we don't know where it comes from because we don't physically see it, but we wise enough to know what time it is, you know what I mean? But this right here is just helping break things down a little bit more, so that way you don't have to take things as personal. Like I say all the time, I signed up for my Witchy Witch BM, and I always got weird stuff and witchy shit to go through on that side of the spectrum, even though we haven't even been involved like that in over 4 years. But it's still, you know, I understand, like, she gave up the fight a long time ago, and she signed that plea deal. So to a certain degree, sometimes I feel bad because she's extremely weak. Same thing with my mom. Sometimes, I'm saying sometimes because they done a lot of weird shit that I cannot forgive. You know, I can forgive myself, but that don't mean I gotta forgive them. That's one thing that people always forget to say, like, oh, you gotta learn to forgive. I did. I forgave myself. I don't forgive them. I didn't see anywhere in the Bible or the text that says you have to forgive them. My job is to forgive me and my actions and my responses in the situation. But understanding, like, yes, we can be possessed righteously as well too, right? Because when I had that blackout moment, that was just that one time that I had it. To me, I felt like the good team, the creator, was like taking care of me in that blackout moment. Because there was a lot of witchy witches and a lot of warlords around. And I could have been in a worse situation. Even though I had people around me that I fuck with, it still could have came out a lot worse. But I also knew that when given the tools, I'm allowing that other entity to access me a lot better. You know what I mean? We got one more on the way, but he ain't here yet. So, but the same way you can be possessed by the demonic team, you can get possessed by, I don't really like saying get possessed by the good thing, because we don't, the creator don't look at it like property. The creator don't see us as property. So one way I was able to tell the difference, and what really brought me to this subject, was I had some Mormon girls, they came by my house just to kind of talk to me about Jesus. I'm an open book, so I have conversations with all kind of beings. So I don't have anything against that, you know what I mean? Y'all know me here, I pull everything together, so I do that shit in real life as much as I can too. But what it made me realize as well too is that when the creator takes over, I don't say the creator takes over your vessel. The creator gives you an abundance, a large amount of power. It heightens all your senses. It heightens your awareness. It pushes your abilities to perceive things, to see things to a whole nother level. If you was, got one more. If you always been weak your whole life, you know what I mean? Like, just, I'm saying physically lifting weights, you know what I mean? Then like, you would be one of them beings that would get like some weird, crazy momentum to kind of help push you through that process. Y'all just gotta stay with me, because everything can be two-sided. Yes, you got the demons who can get pushed, and some of them are pretty strong too. But you gotta remember where their power is coming from. You know what I mean? So theirs doesn't have the same condensation. It doesn't last as long. They are more so of, I like boxing, so they're more of somebody who's going to throw a haymaker. You know, they're always looking to knock you out. We are looking not to get hit too much. So we can jab, 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 hook. We going to bounce around the ring a little bit. We going to make sure we good. You know what I mean? Like, we don't go straight into fights automatically with a haymaker. So that way, if we miss and slip and fall, they don't knock us out and take us down. You know what I mean? But it's always a huge difference that you're going to be able to tell whether you was getting power pushed through to you or whether you was being possessed, because these other entities just like to control. So we understand our free will over here in the power of choice. Them over here is the opposite of that. So they need control. They need to implement fear. It's several things that they have to add into their recipes for themselves, you know what I mean? But you'll see regular, everyday, average Joe Schmo people get possessed. You go to a convenience store, right? You having a fine day. You go somewhere, let's say, convenience store. Let's say you had to go by the bank, because that's more corporate as well too. Say you had to go by the bank. Your vibe's been good all day. You start talking to the people, they fine. You know what I mean? But then you need one thing done that they are having a problem with comprehending or just not wanting to do because it's an extra step. Then you'll realize that whole demeanor changes, and then they start communicating with you and giving you a completely different frequency, and you start looking at them in a different light. Like, damn, when I first approached the desk, your energy wasn't presented that way. But now that we're engaging and some things didn't go the way that you liked, or you would have had to do some extra steps you didn't want to do, now it's this whole other vibe and energy that you carrying over with it. You know what I mean? That's how those possessions be working on like a day-to-day basis. A day-to-day, and you can tell, because it's always gonna be confusion, chaos. It's gonna be like anger. It's gonna be all of those weird emotions that, of course, we all gotta experience them, but it's always the ones that you have to work the hardest on, which usually don't come with the best condensation. So anger is great, but it don't come with the right condensation, and we aren't taught we aren't taught the things that we need to know as far as like how to manage our energy. and being angry. You know what I mean? All these things, they teach you to be happy all the time. They teach you how to be sad. You know what I'm saying? But they don't teach you how to manage your anger. So when you're happy, they don't say you need to suppress it. You know what I'm saying? And be sad. When you sad, they don't tell you. Some people will tell you need to suppress your sadness. So I ain't gonna say that. This system is weird out here. But you'll be able to tell with these subtle signs, because it's always gonna be the negative frequency. A negative condensation. It's always gonna have some kind of witchcraft or confusion in there. When you getting power pushed through you by the Creator, it's gonna make you stand so solid on whatever truth you're speaking at the time. It's gonna make you stand so solid in your being. It's gonna make you become more comfortable with yourself to a whole nother degree. And I'm talking about, this is the after effect. Because when you're in that space, you're just being powered through. So it's almost like you feel like you don't have no control, but you just gotta do it. You just gotta say it. You just gotta stand solid. You know what I mean? It's always gonna be more righteous. It's always gonna feel better. It's just always gonna be friction because of the demonic team. It's always gonna be friction because of the demonic team, but it's always going to be more truthful. It's always gonna be more natural. It's always gonna be more light when you get in the Creator pushing that energy through to you. You know what I mean? But I don't want to run it up too long, you know what I mean? Be mindful of these beings out here being possessed, so that way you don't find yourself taking every situation so personable. Like, if you find yourself taking every situation personable, then you got to kind of start reflecting a little bit more. You know what I mean? Yes, you are a light being, and yes, you are, you know, an enemy of the state. But at the same time, we are way more intelligent than them, so you have to understand their process and their playbook. You know what I mean? Tapping everything down below. Peace and love to the kings and queens.